Good afternoon to you. This is Good Afternoon Ghana, and we're having an exclusive with Deputy Minister for Education, Madam Gifty Twum Ampofo. She's also Member of Parliament for Ebuakwa North constituency. And so we'll be going into a bit of some information as far as education is concerned in the country. We know a lot of you have been complaining about some things you're seeing within the educational sector. One has to do with feeding of school children. One has to do with the quality of education itself that we're giving them. So once free, SHS project is on, what exactly is going on with that sector or what that part of education? There's also the basic bits of education in all. So we'll be speaking with her about all these matters that are coming up. TVET, you've been hearing TVET. What is TVET about? And of course, we'll also talk about STEM education. You also hear STEM and STEM and STEM. What's going on with STEM education? What exactly is the country supposed to be expecting, and how are we going to be reaping results? We're going to be able to get some performance improvements as far as the result of education or educating the kids is concerned. We'll get to know about that later after this break. Let's take the break. When we come back, I'll introduce the minister. Okay, you're welcome back. So I have Gifty Twum Ampofo, Honourable Member of Parliament for Ebuakwa North constituency and also Deputy Minister for Education. Madam, you're welcome. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. So,
thank you.
Like I said earlier this morning, I was spending the whole day, almost a whole day with her today. So we're on Good Afternoon Ghana as well, but it will be solely on education in this interview. You're welcome once again. So first, let's just go through the journey of free SHS to date. What can you say from the inception of the program and what we have today?
Thank you very much. What free SHS? Let's have some history. You know, our first president had a policy of young people in the northern sector benefiting from free second cycle education to close the gap between the north and the south. This had gone on from independence time till 2017. And around 2015, 2016, you could recount the number of times even the northern schools under the benefiting from free second cycle were asked to go home because monies that are meant for their feeding and others were not forthcoming. Also, we also realized that after BEC, a lot of young boys and girls who had qualified down south, over 10%, are unable to get enrolled into the secondary school. We also realized that even after they've been enrolled, after the first term, the second term, and by second year, third term, over 10% of these students have also fallen out of school, all because of school fees. Then there's a need to do something that will benefit everyone, irrespective of where you come from, to ensure that we rate all children at the second cycle level same, without any inequalities and discrepancies. The growing individual needs to develop his or a lot of confidence for realization of the potency, the potential of that individual. Therefore, it is important that we use a system that wouldn't bring unnecessary classifications as far as students are concerned, and also schools as well are concerned. So then, we took a major step of giving all second cycle students with free second cycle education. There were a lot of suggestions, a lot of contributions, but finally, we went for the very bold one, also expensive anyway, for the free second cycle education, where core textbooks, exercise books, uniform, church cloth, all these are factored into the free second cycle education. With our day students also benefiting from one hot meal, a lunch for all of them. 2017-2018 academic year, where we started the free SHS, the enrollment was just around 800,000. So we started. We didn't have much infrastructure, but we started because Rome was not built in a day. And if you say you want to get all your resources in place, you can't do anything. So we started. After a lot of criticism saying that, sorry, anything free is of low quality. So then we had a bold, aside the criticisms, we had a bold step to see the response of Ghanaians. And we realized that that year, we saw an increase of about 20%. Whoa, it means after all, it is free though, but the patronage is still high. So we anticipated that the next year, that is the 2018-2019 academic year, is going to be quite tough. And we couldn't have had all the monies that we needed to expand infrastructure in all these second cycle institutions. And again, talking about free SHS, let me go down by saying that the policy says that all children attending second cycle institutions under the Ministry of Education are going to benefit from second cycle, free second cycle education we call free SHS. But this free SHS under the Ministry of Education, it wasn't only secondary grammar schools who were under the Ministry of Education. We also had 47 technical vocational schools under Ministry of Education, under Ghana Education Service. All of them benefited from this free SHS I'm talking about. So then within this year, a lot of effort was made to complete uncompleted projects in our schools. But still, the rate at which numbers were increasing, there was no way we could have infrastructure and run the program we were running. So then we introduced the mighty double track. What was this double track? The double track was to ensure that we use the facilities in stages or in phases to provide quality education for all our young people who wish to have secondary education. Again, we also realized that there was a bottleneck that we were supposed to remove if you really want to have universal second cycle education, where every Ghanaian, irrespective of who gave birth to you, where you were born, all bottlenecks removed. But one major bottleneck was the BEC registration, which some parents were unable to pay. So when the child gets to JS3 first term, the child had to quit school. So then, another bold initiative was government to have a very good interaction with WIC to absorb the registration fee for BEC. Then you could say that the playgrounds are fair for everybody who writes the BEC and makes effort to write and have some reasonable pass to have access to this investment that we're using monies or resources that belongs to all Ghanaians to develop our human resource. So we started with double track. With a double track, we recruit a number of graduates. Others were professional teachers, others were not. We gave them a chance to write some exams or some assessments, and they were enrolled by the Ghana Education Service. And also we had a double track designed such that half of the students, which we made it green and gold. We said green and gold because the word red, nobody wants red. Red as if it's danger.
It's danger.
Or it's inferior or primitive. So you had the green and gold that they were running. And again, one other thing we also did was to change the trimester to a semester. And you know, a semester is 4 months, 16 weeks. That's a semester. You can't do anything with a semester. And to make sure that students don't leave or stay at home for too long a time, then we had a way of staggering it such that whilst others go for 2 months and come for a break, the next track also goes for 2 months and come for a break. We made food available through a contract that we had with an agency under the Ministry of Agri. That is buffer stock. People thought buffer stock is an education. No, it's an agency under Ministry of Agri.
Yeah.
We had an agreement with them so that they should use all practicable means to
provide
food. And then we had an arrangement to pay them as and when monies are available within a period of time. And as doing this, we also had to improve infrastructure. There is no secondary school in Ghana that you may not have a classroom ongoing or completed, or a dormitory ongoing or completed. This ensures that government was not just using slogans about having free SHS, but government was ensuring that the free SHS we're talking about, we're also going to ensure that we invest not only in their uniforms and the food they eat and the beds they sleep on and the furniture in their class, but then we build classrooms, comfortable classrooms, so that students will have them. We promise Ghanaians that within the space of 5 to 7 years, 3 to 5 years, there will be no double track. So all schools, second cycle schools all over the country, some had infrastructure, but number of students, you know, with SHS, we don't place students. Students select their schools before we place them. So if there's a school in my constituency that students are not selecting those schools, then there's nothing I could do. Mm. And there are a number of schools that we usually say that they are oversubscribed. Mm-hmm. So under this, we categorize schools into single track schools and double track schools. Schools that are oversubscribed were the double track schools, and schools that are undersubscribed or averagely subscribed were the single track school. So then we have single track schools. Even the single track schools, we've also improved infrastructure. But all the premium schools are double track because they are always oversubscribed. And aside cutoffs of aggregate, the schools are unable to get all the students who have subscribed and really fall within the aggregate of that school for placement. So they had double track. And as of now, we're running what we call transition. That is, as and when the infrastructure is completed, the double track
phase out.
And there are some schools, project is ongoing, but what we do in the transition is, there's nothing like green and gold, but if all Form 1s are in school, all Form 1s are in school. So we have staggered the academic year such that at any time, 2 of the year groups are in school. Right now that the Form 3s have completed, we have all Form 1s and all Form 2s in school. So we don't have one arm of Form 1s in school and the other arm at home. So that is the transition that we're doing. But with the pace at which we haven't the infrastructure being improved and expanded, we're very sure that by the next academic year and half, I'm using next academic year and half because all contractors don't have the same capacities. One contractor may have a very high capacity
complete projects that
to complete projects, and others don't have very high capacities. So you cannot say that by the next year all classrooms and all dormitories will be completed because of different capacities.
But as a test now, would it not be not contractors but the financial capacity of government?
That altogether is capacity. There are some contractors that have not been paid for some time, but they've completed their project. And other contractors that government do not owe them, but they still have not completed their project. That's why I'm using capacity, because there are some contractors. There was one in a school that I had to step in to negotiate and see what we could do. The headmistress needed the classroom block badly, but the contractor was not continuing. So I stepped in to speak with the consultant for the project, because I wanted to get fund and see what we could do for this man. But after the interactions, he admitted that actually he doesn't have any certificate with Get Fund. It means we don't owe him. But you know why he was paid the last time and he didn't push the money into the project. I can't sit here to speak. Altogether, it's capacity.
Yeah, but there are some that are not, you know, on project sites because government owe them. It's not because of capacity. Some have complained that because government is owing them. And we know that at this point in time, it's difficult for government to settle contractors.
Oh, but the good news is, within the next 2 weeks, all contractors will be paid, Get Fund contractors.
Oh,
all documentation. Even what has delayed is, the documents are huge, so they put them together in lots. Let's say that contractors who submitted their certificates in this range, we put them into one lot. And to be sure that we have covered everybody, you need to call the contractor to come and certify that, yes, these are the certificates I've brought, to make sure that there are no discrepancies. Some of the contractors you called, some of them may not be in the country. Some of them, I don't know, for whatever reasons, wouldn't respond, so that we get this documentation finally done. That has also delayed a bit. But things are set to pay all contractors who submitted their certificates by the end of September, that September 30. So if any contractor submitted it October 1st, that contractor is not part of this bulk payment that's going to be done. We need to make that clear. I don't know, somebody will say that I submitted my certificate in October and they were paid in October ending on November and I was not paid. The deadline was September 30.
So take a period of time to work on your, as and when you submit your certificate.
Exactly that.
So at what percentage can we say we've been able to phase out the gold and green shifts?
For percentage, we are over 60%.
Oh, really?
Over 60%. And a lot of projects are between 60 and 95%.
Complete.
Yes. That's why we are sure that by the end of the year, we need to face off, if not all, most of them.
How about the feeding situation?
The feeding situation.
Is it true that some of the schools are, as we have, there was a critical video that came up on social media, I came out with, small, when we were in secondary school, we used to call it gas. You know, so there was gas in this bowl with a very tiny fish. I don't know if it was
fish. Did they mention the school?
Or was frog leg. No, they didn't mention the school.
That is the challenge that we have. We have radio stations interviewing some adults, talking about the worst situations about feeding and others. You hear the host saying that, for some reasons, you mention your name, you mention your school, you mention your region.
No, but here in Metro, we have gone to schools and put the schools on TV. And students have spoken to it, and the situation is dire.
In some places, it's not encouraging. All about capacity again.
Capacity on whose part?
The contractors who are supplying this food to the schools are not as our contractors. They are contractors of buffer stock. So buffer stock is the only person who could say that contractor A, B, C, D, for some reasons, doesn't have capacity. So let's review his or her contract.
Capacity to do what? To supply?
So, aside all these, there are some schools you go and there's food. Maybe because whoever is the contractor for school A, B, and C may have higher capacity. But about food, at least today, at the front page of some newspaper, my minister stands there and then mention about the monies that we have given to free SHS.
Oh yes,
yes.
That's
190 something million cedis.
Oh, okay.
For free SHS.
Yes.
And this money, the bulk of the money goes to buffer stock. And then the others will go to other purchases that has or other contract been signed on behalf of free SHS in areas of classroom infrastructure, in areas of books, in areas of other things. But usually when there are releases to the free SHS, the bulk goes to buffer stock to ensure that they're able to pay their contractors.
Why are we putting so much pressure on us as a third world-class country? And there's been the analysis that's come out that there's nowhere in the world that's offering free boarding education. Why is Ghana trying to overdo things?
We're not overdoing things. We're facing the realities. If you consider, we're quick to mention countries like Malaysia, countries like the North or South Korea.
Singapore.
Singapore, one of the Koreas. These are
North Korea.
Like North Korea, the education is free from scratch to tertiary. And we realize that countries that have done better than we did are countries who place emphasis on education. We in Ghana, you were so happy because you were endowed with natural resources. Very endowed with natural resources. But you realize that with all these natural resources, without developing proper development of our human resources, we're not getting where we wish to get to. So we need to take very bold measures. We're saying that there's nowhere that we have secondary boarding education being free, because the developed countries we're talking about, in all the vicinities there are schools. So the young adults need not to travel far to access the second cycle institutions. But in our perspective, in some areas, the child had to travel. If you want a child to be a day student,
so
then that child had to travel.
So it wouldn't be more appropriate to take your time, build schools closer to every community so that children will not have to, commute that long into schools, and then we can still manage our budget in proper perspective. I mean, if you're thinking of smart goals, you don't have to overdo things that you know that you don't have the capacity to do.
Thank you very much. We take our time to build schools. Whose child should wait? Whose child should wait? We're talking about human resource development. You see, there's something my minister said we used to say, that there are two pawns, there are two pawns, the pawns of the privileged and the pawns of the underprivileged. The pawns of the privileged are always overfished because they can access all these facilities with little or no sweat. But the pawn of the underprivileged, for where they are, if you say that they should wait, how long? So, anytime people talk about, we should have taken our time to build schools before you start this, the question I ask is, whose child should wait? For instance, Annie, assuming your husband tells you, Annie, the landlord is getting too troublesome for my liking. So for the next 3 years, our children stop school and let's use all our income to build a place for ourselves. Then we leave this compound house and get to our own apartment before our children continue school. Will you be happy? You'll be happy.
You're not making it look like once government says it's not paying for free education, parents will also leave their children at home. At some point, you would want the parents to take a bite at the bullet a bit, so that within the period when we are trying to build the schools for more access or expand access, they will be biting the bullet and be taking care of the kids until we know that, okay, averagely, we have been able to provide schools in communities, and then it's step by step.
We're talking about human resource development that we have underrated it for all these years. We have underrated our human resource development for all these years. But now we've realized that if there's anything we should invest so much in there, it is a human resource development. Because when you have a lot of young people out of school, it becomes a security threat to all of us when they're out of school. And you bear with me that now the two of us are women looking for house helps. Now we don't even get them easily because most of them are in school. You may think the education is too expensive, but let's try illiteracy and semi-illiteracy and see how expensive they are. And these young people, some are mentally so smart that if you don't develop them, you leave them out there, they will always outwit the adults and the police. So it is important that some education is given to all. I'm not saying that the free SHS is cool. No, it's not cool. We're spending so much there, but it's an investment that after 5-10 years, all of us will appreciate that, yeah, this is an investment that we have made. At least we could testify that even on our streets, that the young people we usually found on our streets in their huge numbers, I'm not saying they are gone, but has reduced because there is a system that at least, if anything at all, there will be a shelter over their head. Somebody will teach them something. There's food for somebody to eat to start with, and there are teachers there.
Have we done a statistical mapping to indicate or to check if what the free SHS was able to do by taking some children off the streets, I mean directly? Have we done some checks to be able to give specific responses to that? That, well, when with the inception of the free SHS, these number of children were off the street because they were now in the classroom. Have we been able to check that? Or we're just looking at numbers that are coming to school and say that, oh, we've been able to take children off the streets?
The second year, we recorded about 2%. You know, we had a window for those who had completed school within 2 or 3 years to use the same resource slip we call them re-entry, to come. And that percentage is about 2%, on the average, about 2%. And some interaction also showed that some ladies had given birth after JHA that they thought that there's no hope. They have re-entered. Some, there's a lot of things I saw Shushan boys. Some Shushan boys had also gone into re-entry. Some parents having their girls as house helps. Yes, I wanted to use a Polish word, house helps. Also went for their children since there was this re-entry policy.
But this is what you are speaking to, information you have. We don't have a ready available data that is taking account of these details, that at a go someone can just pick it and make reference to it, that we had maybe about a number of so young men who were into cobbler businesses, and all of a sudden
but for the re-entry, I said that the re-entry are about 2%.
Okay, so we have data for the re-entry.
Re-entry.
Okay.
Those who did not complete school that very year, but after 2 years or 3 years, were given the opportunity to go back. Government also brought a policy that those who did not pass very well to write the private BC and enter. All those things are taking care of those who didn't have the chance to go. Maybe they were ill, maybe they couldn't register for their BC, maybe they gave birth, maybe due to poverty or something else, to re-enter. This time, you're not going to pay admission fee, you're not going to pay school fees, you're not going to lengthy prospectus and others. So there, it has done a lot. The only thing I could speak about as a woman is looking for house help has become very difficult because nobody wants the child to stop schooling after BEC. And the reasons for them to not continue in school, which were mainly financial, or the danger that I may not be able to, I can take her to enter, but may not be able to sustain the school fees and all the demands. Those times, do you remember the number of times that students were writing WASI and BEC that teachers chasing them to bring school fees before they write, and all those media publication that we had, front page publication that we had, because some schools, when they write in English language, didn't allow the students to get in late, early, they got in there after 30 minutes or more, all those things. When issues change and you don't see them often, or don't hear them often, we seem to forget as if it's something that we could manage easily. So the free SHS, yes, it's expensive. But human resources development, we have learned in Ghana that we are where we are because we didn't place much emphasis on our human resource development. So all the mining companies, and even recent time, the petroleum and others, you go there and you realize that there are a lot of expatriates there because we didn't develop according to how to get the resources. For instance, if you derive oil and then you train people in management position, who is investing his money and going to employ your people to become managers? All those things are involved. So we should develop the human resource. So that is a huge risk we have taken. But we know that by 10 years' time, everybody could look back and say that, yes, the risk was huge, but the dividends is something that we can be happy with. And you know, in Ghana and Africa as a whole, our youth population is so huge that we need to take very drastic means to get them skilled, educated, so that we benefit from the dividends of our demographic advantage, but not challenges.
Well, that means that we have a rich future, because if you have a young population, it means you have a rich future. So let's see how that will benefit us in the next 10 years or 20 years to come. But we have more to talk about when it comes to the STEM education. So let's take a breather. When we come back, we'll get into STEM education and see basic education as well, if we have started on the right footing or the wrong footing. Welcome back to Good Afternoon, Ghana. We're spending time with the Deputy Minister for Education, Gifty Twum Ampofo, and also Member of Parliament for Ibuakwa North Constituency. Thank you for staying, Madam Twum. So let's get into the area of TVET, as it is now as well. Where are we? What can you tell us, just as you've taken us through TVET and STEM education?
Thank you very much. For TVET, there's a lot that we have done in TVET. And in 2017, President made a statement that to reduce poverty and to reduce youth unemployment, we need to invest in TVET. And after that, we established the TVET Transformation Committee or Agenda, headed by Honorable Yasafo Manfo, the then Senior Minister and the former Minister for Education. This called for 2 acts. So we sent 2 bills to Parliament, pre-tertiary bill and education regulators bill. The pre-tertiary bill gave birth to TVET service, and education regulators bill, the pre-tertiary bill is Act 1049, And the Education Regulators Bill is now Act 1023. These two acts gave us, the 43 gave us TVET service. Now we have Ghana TVET service. And the structure is working just like Ghana Education Service. But they are taking care of all technical vocational education at the second cycle level. And then we have Education Regulators Bill gave birth to Commission for TVET. The Commission for TVET is also ensuring that we have workable and attractive curriculum, a closer gap between academia and industry, and also make sure that there's funding for TVET. So with this, what the Pre-Tertiary Act did, Act 1043 did, 49 did for us is all TVET institutions under the various ministries. At that time, there were 19 ministries having one skill development institution or the other. Have all of them been now under Ministry of Education, and for that matter, under TVET service. This academic year, we had about 138 added to, remember I've mentioned 47, added to the 47 already under the Ghana Education Service. And all these were under the computer placement school selection system, saying that they now under the free second cycle education. So now we have over 188 second cycle TVET institutions that students selected last year and can select this year to 4 second cycle education TVET. And with the TVET, as we were going through the bill in Parliament, we also sought for funding to fund the TVET landscape. And under this, we had a facility of $195 million to facelift, expand, modernize all the 34 NVTIs then all over the country. There were 34, plus their head office and OIC head office. Addition to this 34, we had 2 foundries from the same contract. The foundries, one is at the CSIR around East Legon, and one is at KN University, Kumasi. And these facilities, just a percentage of them are not completed. Even those that are not completed, the structures are completed, the retooling are about 95%. Many of them are 100%. Everything is set. All the equipment, all the teaching materials and others are set. The dormitories or the hostels are set. The furniture in classroom others are set for TVET. And students are there. We have one at East Legon. You can go there and see. We have one at Asindompim. We have one at Winneba. We have one at Swami. There are 34. We have one at Sampa in Buno. All over the country, we have these ones there. And they are furnished with state-of-the-art TVET equipment. In addition to this, we also had the original TVETs, which were under GES. We also had 13 of them giving modern workshops and laboratories with the state-of-the-art TVET equipment. 13 second cycle TVETs. We have one at Tema Technica, Ashaman Technica, Simpor Technica, Takrade Technica, Cape Coast Technica, Boga, and many of them. Sabuba. And we have Father Komboni at Sugakope. I want to make sure that I've mentioned all the regions so that they don't look like some regions were not catered for. To have these workshops and laboratories with the state-of-the-art TVET equipment. We didn't just end there. We've also built workshops and retooled all our 10 technical universities all over the country. For 6 of them, we built, start to finish, new workshops and laboratories, and we have finished them with modern state-of-the-art TVET equipment. For 6...
So what's the larger national plan into which the TVET should be providing for?
The national plan is, we've started industrialization.
Yes.
And we have industrial equipment in all this TVET equipment. The equipment we have in these workshops are not teaching and learning equipment. They are industrial equipment for large-scale production. So and remember I said that CTVET is to bridge the gap between academia and industries.
Yeah.
And we develop the curricula in consultation with industry. And the industry and the schools are forming collaboration. Some industry don't even have the modern machines that we have in this TVET centers.
Yes, but the industries can do or can predict what they want to do. And the schools can also predict what they want to learn.
No.
But the nation as a whole must have a plan that maybe in Ghana in the next 10 years we want to be exporting refined gold or refined oil, or we want to be exporting finished products from palm kernel.
Good.
So if this is the national plan, we know what we're putting in second cycle schools, we know what we're putting in TVET, we know what we're putting in STEM education, then we know what we're churning out to fit in the plan as a bigger picture.
I said it earlier that the curricula we're using and the ones we're designing, we're not sitting at CTVET to design curricula. We're doing that with the experts in the industry. We have established already 11 sector skill bodies, and we have 11 also in the oven that within a short time we're going to launch them, put them into working groups. What these bodies are doing is, together with CTVET, we see and CTVET has also undertake skill gap analysis and audit to know the skills we need today, but you may not need tomorrow, so you don't need to develop a fresh curriculum. Skills we may need now, tomorrow, the next 5 years, and the ones you may not need. To develop the curricula, not alone, but with the industries, because with TVET, you don't invest in TVET only within the academia space, but with the industries themselves. That is why we working hand in hand with them, so that we design the curricula. They will know the need for the industries today, tomorrow, next 5-10 years, and the ones they don't need. And in training learners of TVET, it is never done only in the classroom and in the workshops, but they are done at the various industries. So the partnership we're starting now is we're interacting a lot with the industries, because they need to let us know what they want us to train the learners in, and then we also use their workshops for internship and others to facilitate the training, so that by the time we finish training the individuals, they are fit for academia purpose, and they're also fit for industry purpose. So that you need not request for an expatriate to manage a particular machine for you. Because of the input the industries are putting in, the learners we churning out will fix in the various industry. Aside that, we have Ghana Skills Development Fund, and we also have Ghana Job and Skills Projects. These two projects are there to facilitate startups for our graduates. Some people want to have their own business, how small they want it or how large they want it. Others want to work for somebody. So with this collaboration and with the Skills and Jobs and Skill Development Fund, all these are the systems we put in place to support those who want to have a startup to start their own business, and those who want to work for other companies. Well, the 1D, 1F, at least we're increasing the number of industries that we have in the country, and the kind of machines we have in our TVET institutions. Any part of a machine that breaks down, provided we get the required metal. We have CNC machines that has its own 3D printers that with a well-designed a sketch and design of the broken down parts, you get that, and you get that parts of the machine well cut using the CNC machine together with the 3D printer. So these are what we're doing to ensure that the TVET we do in Ghana here is globally competitive, not Ghana TVET.
And I can agree that it's globally competitive because we currently have some of our nurses, trained professional nurses, who are, we've had an agreement with the Barbados government, which recently there were some nurses that were, sent out. So as we're talking about industry, we spend time, we spend money, we train nurses, we train doctors, and then in the end, they go out to provide services for other countries. We are not able to, keep what we are spending money to train. We recently heard that we're using free SHS graduates to be offering health services in our health compounds in other communities, which of course created another problem within the health sector. Why do we have trained, qualified nurses ready for the industry, and we're not using them, and we're going to use free SHS graduates and such communications coming across like that?
This one, it's about interventions, and with this one, you kindly spare me on that. Is when the health people come. All that I could say is, you see, now we're turning out nurses who are diplomates. Previously, we had enrolled nurses and other lower nurses who were doing certain jobs. I have forgotten the name the YE had given to these ones who are going to facilitate with the health provision. I've forgotten the name.
In Barbados?
No, in Ghana here,
Ghana,
about the YEA. So that one, don't let us talk too much about that. Let's concentrate on my TVET and my STEM, and then you get to where you want to get. You see, there are some countries that their population is declining, while ours is going up. And first of all, it's better to have a well-skilled or trained person. Recently, those who travel to Kuwait, those countries where there's oil, name them for me. Kuwait, Saudi and others, you often hear, and even Dubai, you often hear a lot of recording saying that they have been more treated, so we should rescue them and others. But in the same vein, if you visit this country, you see a lot of nationals there. But they are not more treated. Why are they not more treated, but we are more treated? Because we go there raw, as raw natural resource, as you do. No skill, no special area. When you train the individual, even if that individual wants to work in Ghana, as I said, as we are expanding our industries, yesterday the president said that we cutting down some imports to make sure that we also urge the local industries on to increase the production of some product and some services to ensure that at least we should be self-sustaining in some areas, not all. All these industries that we want them to increase their products are going to use skilled individuals. That's why I ended by saying that. So that when we patronize made in Ghana goods, these industries are going to expand. And as they expand, who are going to work there? The skilled individuals that we churn out from our TVET institutions at the second cycle or the tertiary are going to work in these industries. Assuming we're not able to absorb them all, or there are some people, for whatever reason, they think they have to travel But even if they are traveling, they should travel as what? Well-developed individual, not as raw as most often than not. We have our young people traveling, and because they are so raw without skill, they are more handled.
Let's spend the rest of the minutes on
and then STEM.
On STEM, yes, please.
Countries who are doing very well and their GDPs are high, they have the tertiary enrollment being very high. And with their tertiary enrollment ratio, they also have those doing science, technology, mathematics areas being very high. Ghana, we're saying that we wish that by 2030, we should have individuals doing STEM-related, including TVET. You can't talk about STEM without linking to TVET, being at least 50-50, and we wish to get 60-40. But when we get to all our secondary school, and you bear with me, the secondary school you attended, the one I attended, if the school has A, B, C, D, E, 5 streams, maximum you have 2 streams of science class. Most of the time it's 1 stream of science. So if a school of 5 streams has only 1 science class, then how are we going to get the 60-40 at the university? We can't get it because the base is not balancing. So that we should do something to leapfrog in areas of STEM.
But we can also improve in the science departments of the various schools.
That's what I'm saying. Because we have the school always has Arts 1, Arts 2, Social 1, Social 2, Visual Arts 1, and then Science 1. At most 2. So then we need to do something drastic to increase the science, those who are doing science, and maybe even those who are not doing science, do some pre-engineering to be able to do engineering. So now we're trying to build science model schools. As of now, we have started with 10, and last 2 weeks, President commissioned 1 at Abomosu, which I was there. That is a STEM SHS with as many as 12 laboratories. So they realized that we're going to intensify the science-related programs at the second cycle to ensure that the interest, the understanding, the direction is made clear to the young adult, so that from there, that young adult, so in a school like Abomosu, if there are 12 streams, I'm expecting that about 10 will be science and maybe 1 will be TVET, so that as they graduate from the SHS, we have the numbers set right for our tertiary enrollment ratios to depict what we're professing, that we need to get many more doing science. We're also building some science academies, STEM academies, which from KG to SHS is a science STEM academy. Everything we're doing there, the thinking, the playing, the teaching, it's science. These things will help us to leapfrog to get the 60-40 we wish to get. Now the 40-60, that 40 should be our science and the 60 being humanities. We're not even meeting them because the student we churn out from the SHS, the ratio is not 60-40. The ratio is far way below 60-40. So we're not getting them at our tertiary levels. So these are what we're doing to ensure that we get people that, educationists say that when you give birth to the child, the brain is, tabula rasa. That is, the brain is like a clean slate. It is what you push there that will get stuck there.
Right.
So with the STEM Academy, if from the word go, from the rhymes that they learn to the play that they play is all about STEM, then the child will get the STEM right on the clean slate, well emboldened, so the way the child will think and the way the child will do his or her things will move in the direction of the STEM domination that we want to have. And there's another program that my minister had introduced, pre-engineering. You know, sometimes you find your mates who didn't do anything science related. They travel elsewhere and they come back and they tell you they're engineers, they are this, they are this, they are that. We experimenting that. So now we have the UMAT, Takwa, and Pentecost University trying the pre-engineering program. Students who never had the chance to do science at SHS. We're having some curricula for them to start with the pre-engineering. All these interventions are leapfrogging to ensure that at the tertiary enrollment ratios, we're going to get the percentage right. And I'm happy to inform everybody that at the basic level and the secondary level, we almost at parity. We used to have the ratio at the basic level, primary schools, girls are even higher. At GHS, almost at par. But the SHS, the ratio for the women, ladies were low. But now, at the SHS, we're almost at par. And we wish that with all this intervention, you have the parity that we're expecting, and Ghana is going to develop as other nations, and all other research have proved that the GDP of countries has a lot to do with the number of individuals that have completed or have reasonable education to contribute their quotas to the development.
Right. We're going to have this with you again, because there's so much within the educational sector, especially the basic level and maybe at the tertiary as well. So we'll find time when you have time with us again to get into that area as well. People are asking questions about why moral education has been taken out of the students' curriculum and stuff like that. So we want to ask questions about what we give to the children to learn and some more. So we'll get back to you definitely later.
When you get to basic education, then maybe you need to look for somebody else to do that, GES or the deputy minister in charge of general education.
Yes.
I don't like stepping into people's space.
Yes, but we'll still come to you in your space. There's so more in your space, so we'll get back to you. Gifty Twum Ampofo is Deputy Minister for Education, and she's a Member of Parliament for Ebuakwa North constituency. I thank you so much for spending time with me today. Thank you so much.
I'm grateful.
Right, and I'm grateful for you, for keeping time with us as well. So we'll get back to you again. The show will be repeated tomorrow, so keep tuned into Good Afternoon Ghana. I almost said Good Morning Ghana. Good Afternoon Ghana. Tomorrow we have a playback, and then Wednesday we'll give you another edition of the program. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon.